Did you move too quickly to roll back some of the executive orders of your predecessor?
Rolling back the policies of remain in Mexico, sitting on the edge of the Rio Grande in a muddy circumstance with not enough to eat. And I make no apologies for that.
Why are you waiting to take executive action on the border?
Because we need more forces on the border. I don't have the authority to do that.
Should the president take that executive action?
Needs to be looking at executive orders.
The president needs to be looking at executive orders.
Under Joe Biden, the United States has become nothing less than a massive dumpster for the world's prison populations.
Countries such as Venezuela are known to be emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're sending them to America. They're happy to let our open border be the solution to their problems and their responsibilities.
And as the great unknowns wash in, Americans are being at an astounding pace.
Was there a breakdown in the system?
So, Margaret...
First of all, let me say that we don't use the term illegal immigrants.
The 5 men in the van that hit and motorcyclists from Fort McCoy last weekend were all undocumented immigrants. The FHP arrest report identified Demetrio Moreno Alahua as the driver, as well as 4 passengers. The investigator called them all, quote, illegal aliens. They're accused of hitting the 74-year-old and leaving him, instead running away.
So our complainants got home from the grocery store. They were unloading groceries, the whole family. These men came out from the side of the yard, approached them.
To add treason to injury, Joe Biden has secretly flown 320,000 illegal immigrants from Latin American airports to 43 U.S. cities, while U.S. Customs and Border Protection is refusing to identify which cities they are landing in. This after FOIA litigation revealed the Biden administration's utilization of the CBP-1 cell phone scheduling app. According to journalist Todd Bensman, under these legally dubious parole programs, aliens who cannot legally enter the country use the CBP-1 app to apply for a travel authorization and temporary humanitarian release from those airports.
The world is growing increasingly complex, and now more than ever, it's imperative to understand different viewpoints, especially when manipulation and biases are prevalent everywhere we get our information. Topics like we're discussing today are often underreported or skewed by powerful interests. That's why we use Ground News. Ground News is a website and app that allows you to come to your own conclusions about what's really going on. Their platform gathers related articles from across the political spectrum and world on a single news story and gives you a breakdown of the media outlet's political bias, reliability rating, and ownership. Go to ground.news/anonymous to get 40% off their Vantage plan for a limited time, which is what we use ourselves. We found this article about migrants overpowering Texas National Guard, tearing down the border fence. We can see that over 40 news sources have been published on this, some being from a left and center point of view, meaning this could be considered a blind spot if most of your news comes from the right. We appreciate that we can see what all sides are saying about the story and come to our own conclusion about what is being said. If you care about the truth like we do and are tired of the misleading media narratives, then you really need to be using Ground News. We highly recommend you check out the site. Go to ground.news/anonymous in your web browser. Right now you can get 40% off their Vantage plan using the link in the description.
This all in an effort to break America, hollowing out the working poor and the middle class while gradually bankrupting the welfare benefit systems funded by the U.S. taxpayers.
So last summer, New York State offered to help by launching a $25 million migrant relocation program, paying an entire year's rent for every migrant family that chooses to move out of the city. The problem is New York's suburban communities don't want them.
I'm here to speak on behalf of the poor, the elderly, who are struggling because of the issues that you deal with and how you deal with them. If we look at Denver with 40,000 immigrants, and we think that they cost $1,000 a month for housing, it's going to be $480 million for 1 year. That's just $1,000, and I don't think you can get housing for that. If you feed those people 40,000 at $200 a month per person. I don't think that's possible today. If any of you have gone to the grocery store, that's 96 million in a year. We are headed for a tsunami.
And once the hotel's free food and money runs out, untold chaos is the only possible outcome and intention.
Biden's deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself. The goal of Senate Bill 4 is to stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas. It creates a criminal offense for illegal entry into Texas from a foreign nation. For repeat offenders, it creates the offense of illegal reentry with a potential prison sentence term of up to 20 years.
The Texas law known as SB 4, the bill passed by the state legislature, allows Texas law enforcement to arrest anyone they suspect of being in the U.S. illegally. 1 week ago, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito announced that his temporary stay on the law would be extended until today. The Texas legislature passed the bill in December as part of an escalating battle with the Biden administration over border policies. The U.S. Justice Department and several civil rights groups sued to block it, saying only the federal government has the right to enforce immigration law. Governor Abbott and other supporters of SB 12 say the measure seeks only to enforce what is already the law of the land. The governor adding that Texas has a right to defend itself against what he calls an invasion at the southern border.
The pause on the Texas law that allows law enforcement to arrest illegal immigrants is set to end after the Supreme Court extended it last week. So what comes next for my home state of Texas as the state prepares for a border showdown with the Biden administration? Where does this go? It looks like the showdown is finally about to happen.
So, Lawrence, we've been in this showdown now for years since Biden became president. Seems like every day. So what the Supreme Court did last week was put a pause, a hold on the law going into effect. And what they will decide today is whether or not the law can go into effect while it's being resolved in the courts, which will take time, or is it on the hold still? So it's not a decision whether it's constitutional or not today. It's can it go into effect, which we hope it can. And to the Supreme Court justices who are watching Fox, I'm sure this morning as they get up early, look, we're being attacked, Lawrence, by land, by sea, by air, literally. Millions coming across the border, many armed, many criminals, terrorists, by sea, because boats have been going into Florida with drugs and illegal immigrants for years, and now air, 1,000 drones a month, according to the U.S. military, and we've been seeing them for a while, over our Texas border, spying on us to help send drugs and illegal immigrants across the border. So by land, by sea, by air, I call that an invasion.
So Lieutenant Governor, it's so interesting because the outrage now from the media, the Democrats, they're trying to influence the court in this way, is against Texas and not the people that are illegally coming across the border. So what would the bill do?
Well, Lawrence, thank you for asking. I wrote the bill with Senator Charles Perry, and we passed it late November or December at the end of many special sessions. It basically says we can arrest, we can detain, and we can either put you in jail or send you back. We can do that. And we should have that right. You know, I've been in the legislature now 17 years. Years and years ago, I was in the Texas Senate, and I had this concept of it's illegal to cross into Texas illegally. So it's illegal to be illegal. And back then, it wasn't the crisis it was today, and people said, you could never do that. But it is a crisis. It is an invasion. By every definition of the Constitution, it's clear to me that this is an invasion. It's a hostile group. It's a organized militia, in essence, the cartels. They are here to plunder Texas and America. They're doing it all over the country. We have people dying from fentanyl. We have people like Lake and Riley being murdered by an illegal immigrant, and you see a story like that every day. This Supreme Court has to understand that our founding fathers, Lawrence, never, ever imagined we'd have a president so weak as to open our border and let millions cross. And in those millions, in essence, is an organized operation that the cartels are running. You know,
Lieutenant Governor, it's the perfect segue because I want you to react to this. We're learning more about this illegal migrant, Corey Alvarez, that was allowed into the country. He raped this 15-year-old girl. He was allowed in the U.S. through a parole program that allows up to 30,000 migrants per month into the country. What's your reaction?
Look, President Joe Biden has sold this country out. And every American citizen who dies at the hands of someone here illegally, whether it's a drunk driver, we see that all the time, or a crime like Laken Riley, or these children being attacked and raped, go down the list. Every week we see these crimes happen at the hands of illegals.
U.S. intelligence officials are warning about a significant increase in potential threats against the U.S. FBI Director Christopher Wray says among the biggest concerns, known or suspected terrorists using fake IDs after crossing the southern border.
Obviously, the crisis at the southern border, it's complex, and it's more complex than just people walking across the southern border. It's the individuals that are coming over and they aim to break the rules or have an intent to do us harm. That really has law enforcement concerned right now. The FBI acknowledging that publicly, warning the nation that there is an imminent threat coming in each and every day. Now, what's worse here as well is that the documents that they're providing aren't necessarily viable. They're using those documents after they're processed and released, and validating these documents is nearly impossible in many cases because we cannot vet people if we don't communicate well or have a relationship with their home country. Then those same documents are what are being used to fly them across the country. While Americans go through that TSA shakedown, the southern border rolls out the red carpet. We have seen migrants cross the border one day and just a few days later ready to fly to their destinations. Some of their airports that migrants are flying into and out of even have special lines for migrants, according to former HSI Special Agent Victor Avila.
You would think any ordinary human being who cared about American lives would say, we got to put a stop to this. This is out of control. But what are they focused on? The administration fixing soft-serve ice cream machines at McDonald's? That seems to be their focus. I mean, any rational human being, Lawrence, in the White House would say, I don't know what we've been doing, but this has to stop now. But he didn't even know Laken Riley's first name, and he never called the family after it happened in those early days.
So then
he should have. He doesn't care. He does not care.
How does this impact the election? And I'm not just talking about the presidency. Yeah. I saw that there were several members in the Texas House and our legislator in Texas that weren't strong on the border. Texas gave them the boot. But on the federal level, how is it going to impact the people that are in Congress, that may be a part of the other party, the Democratic Party? Do you see some sort of impact back in home Texas?
Yeah. Well, I do, Lawrence. And look, the other news of the Hezbollah illegal immigrant we captured about a week and a half ago, who said he was coming here to New York to build a bomb. And then he recanted and they came back. Look, we have arrested nearly 300 people on the terrorist watch list. Again, we're being invaded. And I think what will happen in November, Lawrence, is this country is going to pick a side, because that's what this election is about. Pick a side. You're either for a secure border, for a constitution, lower inflation, a stronger military. I can go through every list that Joe Biden is disrupted this country. Anything good for this country, he's done just the opposite. And America is going to react. And let me tell you what, many people in the inner cities of America, in these blue cities, in these blue states, are going to react to the illegal immigrants who are all over their towns, that we wisely put them on a bus and sent them there to make this a national story. Will it be a 49-state to 1? No. But will it be an overwhelming win by Donald Trump? Yes, because Americans will pick a side. Make America great again, make America secure again, and make American cities great again.
It's such a good point. You're kicking, kids out of schools in Chicago, saying there's no funding for that, for the health centers in Harlem. You got the seniors housing there that they're finding housing for the migrants there, but you can't take care of the American citizens. They don't put them in downtown. They put them in the poor neighborhoods. Lieutenant Governor, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Tom, big development here. So what Governor Abbott just did is he made coming into this country illegally a state crime, and police can arrest illegal immigrants as a result of this, wherever they are in the state. What do you think about this?
I'm behind them 100%. I mean, the federal government has abdicated their responsibilities to secure the border. And look, the Biden administration has been very successful on the open borders agenda. They haven't done a single thing to slow the flow. This isn't mismanagement. It isn't incompetence. It's by design. He ran on open borders, and you got to give him credit. He's kept his promise. So I salute Governor Abbott. I mean, we got to protect this country, and we look at the known how many people off the terrorist watch list have been arrested, an historic number. Governor Abbott's trying to protect Texas, and in doing so, he's protecting his country.
Yeah, the other side is saying that this is unconstitutional because immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. But to your point, what if the federal government isn't doing the enforcement? So there's certainly going to be a legal showdown on this front. One of the big issues right now, though, Tom, is that once migrants are in this country who cross illegally, they're here to stay. If you look at the deportation numbers, Trump versus Biden in 2019, under former President Donald Trump, there were over 260,000 deportations. In 2022, that number dropped to 72,000. And you say that if Trump wins, you want to help launch a massive and historic deportation program where no one is off the table. What do you mean by that?
Well, if Trump actually wins the presidency and they ask me to come back, yeah, but it has to be done, Carly. I mean, what is the alternative? I mean, if millions of people are entering the country illegally, making a false claim to asylum, because the data clearly shows nearly 9 out of 10 of these people will be ordered removed by an immigration judge. So we spend billions of dollars on due process. Okay, you can claim asylum, you get to see a judge. But at the end of all this, if a federal judge says you must leave, we have to execute those orders. If we don't, then might as well shut down the immigration courts. Might as well take the border patrol off the border. There's a system in place. We'll give you the due process, but if you lose, you got to go home. Because your alternative is, okay, you let millions stay. What's that going to do? Just brings millions of more. We're a nation of laws. You have a right to claim asylum, but if you get order removed, we have the right to remove you. That is the way the law reads. We're a nation of laws, and we got to enforce those laws.